High magic, this is also known as ceremonial magic, is one of the most structured and spiritual forms of magical practice. Unlike folk magic, which is often practical and grounded in everyday needs, high magic is focused on higher truths like enlightenment, cosmic alignment, and the transformation of the self. It's often described as the magician's path to understanding the divine order of the universe. At its core, high magic relies on rituals and not just casual ones. These rituals are detailed, symbolic, and often based on ancient systems. Practitioners use sacred tools like wands, swords, chalices, and pentacles. They wear ritual robes, chant invocations, and align their ceremonies with planetary movements. Every gesture and word is thought to hold spiritual power, mirroring the macrocosm of the universe. High magic is also deeply philosophical. It draws from traditions like Hermeticism, Kabbalah, and even alchemy. The practitioner isn't just casting spells, they're studying the very fabric of reality. The goal isn't quick results, it's divine union, spiritual awakening, and the pursuit of what's called the great work, the process of perfecting the human soul. Some famous systems of high magic include the theurgy of the Neoplatonists, Enochian magic developed by John Dee and Edward Kelly, and the Golden Dawn rituals, which form the basis of much of modern ceremonial magic. Kabbalistic magic also plays a huge role, especially with its use of divine names and the tree of life as a map of the soul. Chaos magic. This right here is one of the most radical and experimental forms of modern magic. It doesn't follow any fixed tradition, sacred book, or ancient rule. Instead, chaos magic teaches that belief itself is a tool, something you can use, change, or discard depending on what gets results. It's less about what's true and more about what works. Unlike ceremonial magic, which is rooted in ritual and structure, chaos magic is DIY spirituality. Practitioners can borrow symbols from anywhere: Christianity, pop culture, ancient runes, even video games, and fuse them into a personal system. What matters is the magician's intent, focus, and belief in the moment. At the heart of chaos magic is the idea that reality is malleable, shaped by will and perception. If you believe a symbol has power and you act like it does, it will. The classic example is sigil magic, where you create a symbol from your desire, charge it with emotion, then forget it and let it work in your subconscious. Chaos magicians also play with identity. Some adopt temporary personas or god forms, others use absurd rituals or contradictions to break the brain's patterns and spark real change. Divination, this is the ancient practice of seeking knowledge, insight, or guidance through supernatural or symbolic means. It's not about predicting a fixed future, but about tapping into patterns, energies, or unconscious wisdom to make sense of what's hidden, whether it's in the present, past, or potential future. Throughout history, people have turned to divination to make decisions, understand signs, or communicate with higher powers. So basically, divination works on the belief that everything is connected, that the universe leaves traces, and by reading those traces, we can glimpse deeper truths. These messages might come through patterns in cards, the movement of the stars, the flight of birds, or even random objects like tea leaves or bones. Yeah, so there are countless forms of divination across cultures, from tarot cards that use archetypal imagery to reflect the querent's inner journey. Astrology maps the positions of planets to uncover personality traits or cosmic timing. Runes, palmistry, pendulums, I Ching, and scrying are all tools used to access the unseen. Some diviners believe they're channeling spirits, ancestors, or divine forces. Others see divination as a mirror of the subconscious, where intuition speaks through symbols and randomness. Either way, the process becomes a dialogue between the seeker and the unseen world. In the end, it kind of just offers clarity, not certainty, and sometimes that's exactly what we need. Blood magic. This is one of the oldest and most controversial forms of magical practice. It operates on the belief that blood is a life force, a powerful sacred essence that carries energy, identity, and intent. Because blood is so intimately connected to the body and soul, using it in rituals is seen as a direct way to charge spells with intense personal power. In many ancient cultures, blood was used in offerings, sacrifices, and rites of passage. From Aztec rituals to Old Testament sacrifices, it was believed to please the gods or open spiritual gateways. In modern occultism, blood magic isn't usually about sacrifice, but about using small drops of one's own blood to seal pacts, empower sigils, or bind energy to a magical working. Practitioners often treat blood as a binding agent, a way to tie themselves to the spell's outcome. This makes blood magic incredibly potent, but also dangerous if done carelessly. It demands intention, respect, and responsibility, since what's powered by blood is often harder or almost impossible to reverse. Because of its intensity, blood magic is often associated with darker occult traditions, though it can also be found in protective and healing rites too. To some, it's a taboo. To others, it's simply the rawest form of offering, the ultimate symbol of commitment and sacrifice. Green magic. This is a nature-based form of magic that focuses on the energy of the earth, plants, and the natural world. Also known as herbal magic or earth magic, it is deeply rooted in the belief that the natural world holds sacred power, wisdom, and healing. Practitioners of green magic work in harmony with nature, using herbs, flowers, roots, and the cycles of the moon and seasons to craft spells, potions, and charms. This form of magic is often gentle, nurturing, and protective. It's commonly used for healing, fertility, abundance, grounding, and creating peace. Green magic also encourages sustainability, mindfulness, and reverence for the earth. It's not about commanding nature, but about listening to it, working with it, and understanding its cycles. Necromancy. This is one of the oldest and most feared forms of magic, centered on communication with the dead. Often misunderstood as simply raising corpses or summoning spirits for evil purposes, necromancy in its deeper form is about accessing hidden knowledge, divining the future, or even seeking guidance from ancestors. The word comes from the Greek nekros, dead, and manteia, divination, literally divination by the dead. In ancient cultures, necromancers were not always seen as sinister. In fact, in places like Mesopotamia, Greece, and among some tribal societies, speaking with the dead was a respected spiritual practice. The dead were believed to retain access to divine realms or secret wisdom, and necromancy was the bridge to that hidden world. Traditional necromantic practices often involved rituals at burial sites, the use of grave dirt, bones, or objects tied to the deceased. Some rites used blood offerings, trance states, or even invocations to summon a spirit into a vessel, a mirror, or a dream. In medieval and Renaissance grimoires, necromancy became more feared, linked with demons, forbidden pacts, and the darker side of ceremonial magic. This shift painted the necromancer as a sorcerer consorting with unholy forces. But not all necromancy is dark. In modern occultism, necromancy can also mean ancestor veneration, spirit work, or mediumship. Shadow magic. This is a form of mystical practice centered on confronting, integrating, and wielding the hidden, repressed, or darker aspects of the self. Shadow magic embraces the duality of human nature, understanding that true power comes not just from purity, but from self-awareness and balance. At its core, shadow magic is deeply psychological and spiritual. It draws from Jungian concepts of the shadow self, the parts of ourselves we deny, avoid, or bury. Through rituals, meditation, and symbolic work, practitioners use magic to explore fear, guilt, trauma, desire, and even taboo. The goal is not destruction or domination, but transformation. Practicing shadow magic might involve mirror work, dream analysis, journaling, sigil crafting, or working with archetypes and spirits that reflect aspects of the subconscious. Though often misunderstood as dark or evil, shadow magic isn't all about causing harm. It's about facing what most people run from, making peace with the monsters inside so they don't control us from the shadows. In doing so, the practitioner becomes whole, grounded, and far more powerful. Sex magic. This is a powerful form of occult practice that uses sexual energy as a tool for manifestation, transformation, and spiritual awakening. At its core, it's based on the idea that sexual energy is one of the most potent life forces available to us, capable of not just physical creation, but energetic and magical creation as well. Practitioners of sex magic believe that during sexual arousal, especially at the moment of orgasm, the mind becomes highly focused and the veil between the conscious and subconscious thins. This makes it the perfect moment to plant intentions, charge sigils, or direct energy toward a magical goal. The energy released during orgasm is seen not just as pleasure, but as fuel, a raw, sacred power that can be used to shape reality.